Hello, everyone. Welcome to our community session today. We're doing a V0 AMA with Claire Vo, and we're so excited to chat with Claire today. Just a quick reminder, if you're new to the community and you want to engage with us in the chat, don't forget to click going in our Vercel community on the event box. And if you can't see it, don't forget to be signed in with your Vercel account. But without further ado, let's bring up Claire.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Claire. Welcome.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. Thanks so much for joining us. So before we dig into V0 and all things Chat PRD, just going to give a brief intro on Claire, who's joining us today. So Claire is founder of Chat PRD, which is an AI co-pilot for product managers and their teams. She's building Chat PRD out of her experience as a 3-time chief product and technology officer, leading product design and engineering teams at companies like LaunchDarkly, Color Health, Optimizely, which acquired Experiment Engine, another company she founded and led as CEO in 2017. So Claire is now an active speaker, advisor, board member, and angel investor. And she also hosts How I AI podcast, which is why she has this beautiful background behind her. So welcome, Claire.
Thank you. You forgot to mention I also have the perfect last name for
You
this.
do.
I know.
You do. I almost mistyped it like 3 times when I was tweeting or posting about it. Amazing. Cool. Well, thank you again, Claire, for joining us. And let's just jump right in.
Great.
I would love to hear a little bit about the origin story behind Chat PRD. So you've done all these things we just mentioned. What made you say, okay, yeah, I'm going to build something myself and dive into your founder journey?
Yeah, this is kind of wild reflecting on it, but I've been working on Chat PRD for almost 2 years now. So it feels like forever in this age of AI. So 2 years ago, I was CPTO at a health tech company called Color Health, running a fairly large product design, engineering, operations team. And this is when ChatGPT and some of the models really became quite useful and a little bit more kind of like prosumer grade and accessibility. And in addition to having this sort of like fancy C-suite title, where people think that I just like recruit and delegate to people. No, I was actually just like a PM on the team. And so like all the other people on the team, in addition to my job, I had to product manage products, and like everybody on my team, super, super busy with, 98% of my day filled up with meetings and no time to actually do deep work. And so I started experimenting pretty quickly with generative AI in particular to help me build out product requirements documents. And there was this one meeting that we had at like 9 in the morning about a pretty technical product that needed to be built. And there were no PMs on the team that had any capacity to do it. I tended to take on the more technical products because I had this bridge between product and engineering and felt like I could do it quickly. And I remember we got out of that 9 a.m. meeting, and by noon, I had sent this like 8-page detailed spec over to product engineering. I was like, here's the PRD, here's the spec. And they're like, wait, how did you do that? I was like, oh, I used AI to do this. And so that was really the origin of how I started prototyping Chat PRD. It started as a GPT in the Chat GPT store. But as I say, I don't build software for fun. I build it for corporate profit. So I was very frustrated. I couldn't make $1 off of it. And so over Thanksgiving 2 years ago, I was like, let's dust off the old IDE and see if we can spin this thing up as a standalone app. And so I spun it up as a standalone app deployed on Vercel, and charged literally $2 a month. The first like month it came out, I was like, let's see. My goal was, can it buy me a glass of wine? That would be like ideal. And thousands of people signed up, and I continued to work on it for 18 months. On the side, I switched jobs kind of in the transition and started running a large team at LaunchDarkly. Ran it on the side by myself for the first 9 months. Hired some contractor engineers to join me. A contractor salesperson joined me, but I was the only kind of focused person on it, and have been running it ever since. And so now it's a standalone app with tens of thousands of customers, lots of enterprises, including publicly traded companies and regulated industry and all that kind of stuff. And we now have a great V0 integration, which is very popular.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I love that it was like a side project Thanksgiving week
Yeah.
kind of thing and then has morphed into this like full-time
Yeah.
excursion.
Yeah. I just went full time on it in June.
Amazing. Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
You touched on this a little bit, but can you tell us a little bit more about the core pain that Chat PRD is solving?
Oh, product managers have no time. That's it. End of story.
There
I'm
we
like,
go.
I go to product teams and I'm like, hey, do you have time? And they're like, no. I was like, guess what? I got the product for you. No, really, I think it's a combination of things. One is, speaking of V0, is high quality requirements and specs really do output better quality products. And so the effort you put into thinking through what problem are you solving? How can you solve it? What's a great user experience? How should that be fleshed out? Is really important upfront work that needs to be done. And it's typically what a product manager would do. And so I think there's two things that ChatPRD solves. One is it helps product teams do that work more efficiently, higher quality, and so they can get more done, which they like. Two, I think it makes whether you are using a AI sort of agentic engineer or a human engineer, it makes their lives a lot easier because they end up with higher quality specs that they can then work on for execution. And we've seen more and more of this shift to it being a really solid input to tools like V0, which take your like sort of vibe coding process and we were talking about prompt quality before we started the stream, just takes it to a next level and make sure that you get higher quality out of it. And then I would say the third thing is, probably a lot of people on the live stream right now are working on something by themselves or are technical and haven't been a product manager before. And so my favorite use case are actually engineers, designers, non-product people who can't afford or don't have a product manager to work with, but need somebody to kind of bring that like business product thinking to their work. And that's where I've seen a lot of value be generated as well.
I love that. Saving people time. I feel like the one-liner
Yeah.
is like the best thing. Okay, we've kind of chatted a little bit about V0, but I want to jump into it. So, can you tell us how you first heard about V0 and what made you actually try it?
I honestly probably found it on Twitter, X, whatever. I'm sure it was social for V0. I've just really tried to stay ahead of the curve in terms of AI tooling just in general. So I'm always out there looking for what's next, not just as part of the podcast, but as somebody who is running, 200, 300 person organizations, really looking at AI as a technology that's going to completely change how those teams worked. I felt like it was imperative that I understood the landscape of tooling available to my teams and knew that tooling really well. And ChatPRD was just a vehicle by which I could do that for my day job. And so I'm sure I found out about it on social, and it's just become part of my stack. As I said, completely solo, bootstrapped, have, as I say, an engineer and a half, so one full-time, one part-time, completely remote engineer that works with me. I still probably write the most code. And so we're really not resource constrained, but we're just very lean by design. And so I'm always stacking these tools, including V0, to make sure that we can build the best product possible. And then, as I said, we're next deployed on Vercel. So it's just very natural kind of overlap for us to use something like V0.
As someone who obviously has deep product chops, what, if anything, initially hooked you about the experience around using V0?
Oh, so Tom, who runs the product work, I text him all the time, like little UX love letters. This is going to sound so silly. It's a good experience, top to bottom. And what I think is really challenging about people that are designing agentic coding experiences is latency. I think it's so boring to wait for something to be generated. And so one of the things that I think V0, this is like probably not the answer you want, but I think V0 does really well are like loading screens where like
Mm.
the incremental loading of these like full stack experiences actually keeps you hooked in the process. In other ways, like it's like torturous for some of these other tools to like watch them load. So good job to the team that built the loading screens. I really like them. I think the other thing is if like you're on this kind of like Next, Shadsia, and Tailwind stack, you're just going to get like good stuff. So we're on that stack. So there was like stack overlap for us that I think is really helpful.
That is so funny, the loading screens. I'm like that now with the queue, like the
Yeah.
messaging queue. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, now I can just like keep setting things over and over
Exactly.
again and watch what it's changing. Okay, you kind of hinted to your stack a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about your stack and kind of where you're using V0 the most right now?
Yeah. So I can talk about two stacks. I'll talk about like my AI engineering stack. And I talk about this a lot. I use everything. I use literally everything. Chat PRD for requirements, in particular, our MCP, which I've hooked into Cursor, which I generally use when I'm coding stuff. And I can go into all my favorite models. I use V0 for component front end design. Do a lot of like redesign this component or give me a component. A lot of our administrative tooling has been, at least on the front end side, built by V0. And we use a lot for prototyping and just getting ideas across. I'm a big fan of Cognition and Devon, so I use that on some of the agentic stuff. I like have like an in and out relationship with Claude Code. You can like come for me in the comments. People love Claude Code. I don't know. It's okay. It's fine. And then I test with everything else. So I use kind of like the full stack of stuff. But I would say those would be the three that I reach for the most on the engineering side. Deployed on Vercel. And then from like the app side, it's next app. And then I've tweeted about it before, but like Neon for database and Clerk for dev and all bunch of stuff. And we generally like the OpenAI models, although we're AI SDK, deployed as well. So we do a lot of model switching.
I love it. I love all the Vercel shout outs. You're like
Yeah,
fully Vercel.
fully Vercel.
Can you walk through like something that V0 lets you do that would have taken you days or weeks before?
Yeah, I can give a really great example that was just end to end a perfect experience for me. And so, um, one of these things when you have accidental product market fit, which I had truly, I was like, this is going to be a side project. I'm going to buy myself a glass of wine. And then I was like, ooh, I'm going to buy myself a bottle of wine. And then I was like, ooh, I'm going to buy a case of wine. And now I'm like, should I shop for vineyards? No. But it's going really well. But one of the things you will know when you have product market fit is you have more support tickets than you can deal with. That's like the best sign ever. I'm like happy when I'm drowning in a support queue because it means people use your product, want your product, and are frustrated when it doesn't work. That's like a great trifecta of product market fit. And so one of the things that a lot of teams neglect, and these can be like startups or big companies, is they really neglect internal tooling, like the tools that you give to manage customer accounts and subscriptions and get visibility into how people are using the product, all that stuff. You like cobble it together with SaaS tools, or you just like make your support person, which is me, like write SQL and do weird stuff in the database. And that just wasn't going to work. And so I use V0 and a Chat PRD into V0. I wrote a PRD and Chat PRD about subscription management and tooling for our support team. And then I used our V0 integration to actually build out the prototype. And then I used that code as the basis to build out our like a very complicated, very complex user management system on our backend that our support team uses all the time to clean up people's accounts and fix their subscriptions and upgrade them and look up and it's one of those things that like a year or two ago, if I had gone to one of my teams and been like, hey, can you build like a fully custom support tool internally and like also make it look good and also like, be able to release new features on it every day as they come up from the support team, they've been like, it's not a priority, right? Like internal teams can figure it out. And now we have this like really high quality support tool that makes our team really efficient. And what I liked about V0 is I gave it very lightweight requirements. Like we built it in Chat PRD, but I didn't really think about it too much. I was like, we use Stripe. Here's our data model. Here's what I needed to do. And it built a really intuitive UI that's fairly complex for our team to use. And I am in that part of our app every single hour of every single day. So, and it's one of those things that would have just taken forever and I would have never done, and we'd just been worse for it.
That's amazing. Um, so I know you were on vacation last week, but I'm
Yeah.
curious if you had a chance to test out the new agentic V0 and if you have any thoughts on that as opposed to the old V0.
No, I think it's super, super cool. I think these like agentic experiences are totally where things are going. And I've said this before. What I like about this shift, and I'm so excited that V0 is doing this, is I think people have a lot more trust in agents now compared to a year ago or 2 years ago. And so, as I said, I've been working on Chat PRD for 2 years. It sounds both so short and so long, but we've really moved quite quickly from like, you should never touch these tools and oh my god, you're going to put like our business secrets in it, to like let them run free. And so I'm a huge fan of these agentic experiences, this like V0 agentic experience, because honestly I think it's the best interaction. Again, like for people out there building products, you can, these the foundational models can do a lot for you, but at the end of the day, it's like about product experience. And so I think the product experience is very good, and I'm excited to see more and more in that direction.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the new V0 now because I've been telling people like you can just go touch grass and the
Yeah,
agent will build everything for you. Like you
yeah,
don't need to have any sort of experience. If you
yep,
have an idea, it can
yeah,
just build it.
yep.
So that's great. Okay, I want you to be honest. Is there anything that you wish that V0 did or that V0 had as part of the product experience that it doesn't have that you wish
This is
existed?
a niche request. I need the V0 SDK, which we use in Chat PRD,
Mm.
to have streaming, please. I need those. I need loading screens. I need loading screens. And so,
Okay.
yeah, for me, I think it's, as somebody who wants to platform on top of V0, I'm super excited. You all are definitely ahead of the curve in terms of SDKs and APIs for us to like build on top of the platform. I think it's a really exciting thing. It's like one of those things that I want to build myself. And so yeah, I have lots of API requests out to the team there. But I think from core V0 experience, I will say one thing, which is I think there's a real opportunity to educate as you build, right? And so actually the power user of V0 in our house, other than me, is my 8-year-old. And so
Wow.
he uses he uses Chat PRD to V0 all the time. He's working on a project called Roundcraft, which is a version of Minecraft, but it's built with all round materials instead
Oh
of
my
square
god.
materials. He built it on V0, and like he can get it to be a thing and has no freaking clue no clue what's going on. And as like, engineering mom, I like literally make him read the code. I'm like, okay, we're going to like read this code and I'm going to explain to you what it's doing. But I do think there's this opportunity. Maybe it's like learning mode where it like builds something. It's like, let me explain to you how this
Mm.
all works so you can actually learn some of the foundational kind of concepts. Cause I think that's just going to make people better.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Before the new agent mode, I used to read through because I'm not an engineer. I used
Yeah.
to read through like, here are the steps that I will take to
Yeah.
do this and kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
learning through that process, but
Yeah.
going one step further and really educating is interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, any other feedback or thoughts on V0 that you want to share?
Y'all need some color. I mean, I know it's like I'm not
It's
allowed to say it.
banned. We
Every time
can't.
I go in the Vercel office, I like aggressively wear color just to freak everybody out. Like,
Yes,
it's also black and white and like tasteful, but gray.
it
And
is.
so like, let's just give her a little,
I
yeah.
know, I was laughing because I was flipping to the Chat PRD website and I was like, okay, compared to V0, this is
She's
so
pink.
colorful. She's
She's
pink, she's
pink.
gorgeous. That's so funny. Yeah, I wore like a really colorful windbreaker to our office in San
I
Francisco a
know.
few weeks ago, and people were like giving me the side eye. Not
Yeah.
really, but they were like, what is this color in this office? I feel like the uniform is all black.
All black. I know.
Okay, cool. I want to just talk in general about like building with AI. So
Mhm.
you talked about kind of your origin story for ChatPRD. You were using this at your job. You were kind of ahead of the curve when it came to AI tools. now that you've been using kind of all these new tools, I mean, we saw you in the GPT-5 video a couple weeks ago. How do you think about balancing automation versus human judgment in product work?
I don't know. Are humans that good at judgment? I think like we're like good at
Okay.
judgment. No. It's a great question. I think from a product perspective, what I think is like, what is your brand? What is your taste? And what do you choose to build is really, really important. We choose to build things and not build things all the time. I feel like that's my job as the founder is like, yes, we're going in this direction or that direction. But like at the end of the day, do I need, 21 days and 7 meetings to debate whether our like open in V0 button is like here or there or up or down or left or right or like whatever the agent comes up with is probably fine. And so I think people have talked about this a lot, like one-way decisions and two-way decisions, one-way door decisions and two-way door decisions, where it's like decisions that are easy to undo, just make them and move forward. And I think a lot of like front end stuff, it's just easy to undo. It's easy to evolve your front end. It's easy to think through things. I think there are aspects of our product, our like kind of foundational product or technical principles at Chat PRD that we absolutely apply a lot of human judgment to. We're very thoughtful about data model design. We're very thoughtful about like data access design, especially because we're built for teams. And so we make like very purposeful decisions about like who can see what and what's shared by default and what's not, and what context agents have by default and what context they don't. And so, we definitely do apply human judgment. I would just say my general principle has always been, and this is like preceded AI, editing is much easier than authoring. And so I like to provide a lot of the authoring capabilities to AI. And then I reserve the sort of like editing capabilities. And I think that's been a good model for me, at least.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We have this like concept of just put it or just ship
Mhm.
it internally, where it's like just get the thing out and then
Yeah.
you can ITG iterate to greatness
Yeah.
from
Yeah,
there.
totally.
Okay, you talked a little bit about how some people using ChatPRD, maybe they don't have the
Yeah.
ability to hire a PM yet or something along those lines. What do you think about when you look at like AI and ChatPRD in general? Do you see it as replacing like human product workflows or enhancing them?
Yes. I mean, I think about it both. Like I gave this talk last year at Lenny's Summit about like product management's dead. And people are like, no, no, she's being like, and I'm like, no, man, like I actually think the like foundational practice of product management is dead. If you go talk to, at least in the next year or two, like I think if you go talk to product leaders, none of them are like, oh, I have 8,000 more product managers to hire. And like I'm opening up a bunch of headcount. I think like the role shifting, organizations are shifting. What I think about ChatPRD is I want to make product managers as efficient, happy, impactful as possible. I want to make product, actually, not even product managers. I want to make product teams efficient, happy, like impactful as possible. And then I want to give everybody in the team a product manager on demand. Like those are my two kind of goals is like, if you're on the team, I want to make you happy. And if you're on the team, I want you to feel like you're an at mention away from like a product manager that can do product work for you. And so that's kind of our guiding principles. And so like, yes, I think like if you consider, an at mention away for an AI product manager, maybe that would have a job. Most likely it would have just been your job that you'd been asked to do in the same hours as all your other jobs. And so I do think about augmenting people, but I do think about some of the design of Chat PRD as actually providing like sort of independent agentic value on the product and engineering side.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. So it's not like all doom and gloom for PMs that are watching.
I don't think it's doom and gloom. Honestly, people think I say stuff like product is dead for doom and gloom. I actually don't. I just think product has been really broken and not fun for a while. It's been super disconnected from the actual building of things. I think a lot more product effort has gone into like it's a joke, but saying no as opposed to saying yes. And so I just think we're getting back to like the most important thing is we ship things, we put them in the hands of customers and we figure out whether or not they like them. Versus like sort of like all the internal optics nonsense that you can be tricked into thinking is effective product work.
Yep, I love that. It's like all the best parts of product and
Yeah.
being in product. Amazing. Okay. You've been obviously building with AI for a while. I know
Mhm.
like 2 years feels like a decade probably in the AI world with how quickly things move. Is there anything that's still really hard about building AI products?
DevOps. I mean, like, I spent this is how I spend my vacations is I spent, like, a day probably all in, last week trying to deploy, like, this thing to Google Cloud Run, and I was like, "Oh, man, deploying code is just the worst." Now I will say, like, I don't have those same problems on the stuff I deploy on Vercel. It's actually, like, pretty straightforward. Um, but I think for folks that are new to building stuff and like maybe really come from like pure vibe coding, they're still running into this wall of like, how do I get what does getting into production actually mean? What are the steps that I need to do to get into production? I think tools like V0 definitely smooth that curve, but I've seen a lot of people struggle with that like dev to production workflow. And like I'm technical, I've run large engineering teams, I've run, like DevOps teams. I know what I'm doing and still like kill me to deploy like Python in a container in the cloud. Like, no, thank you. And so I think that's going to be the next piece where as the actual application building becomes easier and easier, how is that same sort of like interface and ease of use going to come to the deploy side of things?
Yeah, that's a good call out. I think, yeah, we think about this a lot for Vizio. We're trying to update our publishing flow too to like make it
Yeah.
easier and make it clearer for just like
Yeah.
the people who are coming just from vibe coding to see what that process looks like. But um, yeah, I think that's still very much a big thing
Yeah.
that we need to work
Yeah.
on. Um, okay. Is there anything as you're building or like that you see on a day-to-day basis as you're working with AI that still kind of blows your mind a little bit? I know you like use AI all the time, but is there anything that still amazes you or wows you about it?
Oh, I mean, like, I am just amazed by everything all the time. If you've ever watched my podcast, I make 2 faces. This face and this face. Like, I think this face is like a B plus, and this face is like an A plus.
Nice.
I'm just amazed by all of it. I've been in I've been coding for truly a gajillion years. I'm so old. Um, and I used to like print out JavaScript tutorials and like read them and then type words in and then like hello world. And I like learned code from a book. And the fact that truly you can just like beep boop an app into production is unfathomable to me. Like I like say my joke is like I used to have to walk uphill both ways for my internet. Like this is mind blowing. And it's so funny how like commonplace it feels to like my kids. They're like, oh yeah, I can just like make roundcraft, no big deal. It's like, what are you talking about? So I am blown away by all of it. I think the thing that to me is the most stark contrast is I did a venture founded startup basically 10 years ago to the dot from when I started Chat PRD. And the capital efficiency of starting a business right now is unbelievable. Like, yes, I self-funded Chat PRD, but like it's profitable, it's great. And I really think I can run it to a pretty significant scale with a very, very, very small team. And that just would have not been possible, was not possible before. And so the speed at which you can like ship features, like the size of your team, your capital efficiency, to me, it's just like there should be billions of businesses being started right now, because there's like such an economic opportunity. So I'm really excited about that. But no, all of it blows my mind. I did a we released a podcast yesterday about making like music videos with AI. Blew my mind. Like I just think it's all so cool, and I love technology so much. So like I just still find lots of joy and magic in it.
That's amazing. Beep booping an app is
Yeah.
fantastic. I'm
My
going to steal
God.
that line.
Used to be in like
Uh,
the CSS minds, you guys. You don't understand how you have it, how good you have it.
No, it's truly crazy. When I was interviewing for Vercel, I was like starting to code again myself. Like I said, I'm not an engineer, but I had taken like coding classes in high school and college, and doing it now with like all of these new tools at my fingertips, I was like, oh, like I actually could have gotten really into this if
Yes.
this had been a thing way
Yes.
back when.
100%.
Um, yeah, I love that. Um, Amazing. Okay, I want to dig into kind of like your vision for what's
Mhm,
next, and
mhm.
then we'll go into a speed round and take some questions from the audience. Um, as you are building out Chat PRD, how are you envisioning it sitting in the broader PM toolkit? Like, what's your like 5-year vision for what ChatPRD looks
Yeah.
like in product
Yeah,
levels?
again, it's, like, pretty simple. My job number 1, because 'cause they're our number 1 customers, is, like, make product teams super happy and, like, help them bridge this, like, AI journey, and so we are focused. I think one of the reasons why ChatPRD does really well and is beloved is I run product teams for a really long time. I know how product teams run. I know what product managers need. Like, I just wanna build the AI toolkit for product teams. It's really important to me. I think the second thing that we've been focusing on a lot is like this kind of like AI PM in a box, which is okay, one, it can start off as a tool. And then the second thing it needs to become to you as a partner. And so, what is the user experience and tooling and integrations? I think the other reason why people love ChatPRD is we're like highly integrated across the PM stack. So it's like V0, Jira, Confluence, Linear, Slack, like we are where you're at. And so we are spending a lot of time thinking about sort of the agentic AI PM experience of product managers. And then the third piece that we're getting honestly like quite pulled into, and I think it's because of our integration with V0, is like a lot of engineers just don't have product managers, or a lot of these roles are collapsing where engineers are more and more responsible for product thinking and design, or designers are responsible for technical thinking, all those things. And so we are just becoming more and more embedded in some of these like vibe coding platforms, AI IDEs. And so we like just released our MCP, and I'm like shocked about how popular it is, where people are like in Cursor or Claude Code or whatever. They've hooked up the Chat PRD MCP, and they're using it to like basically build out their project plans, specs right there in their IDE, and
Amazing.
then letting the agentic tools execute on them. So we'll see how far we get pulled in that direction, but we see a lot of people using ChatPRD as the kind of like instruction framework for their agentic coding systems.
Love it. For folks in the chat and who are watching who maybe don't know, we've chatted about this like V0 integration and ChatPRD a
Mhm.
couple times. Can you walk us through what that actually means and what it looks
Yeah,
like?
yeah. We actually have had it for some time, but we have a new version of it. So our original version was very, very simple. You make your PRDs and specs in ChatPRD, and there's a one-click button. And it opens basically the prompt. It attaches all your specs into V0, and V0 just goes, and then it builds the thing. So it was really just like a one-way export, um, just smoothing again the curve of going from one tool to the other. That was what original. And then when the V0 SDK came out, I was like on it day one, ready to build. I told you guys if you built it, I would use it. And so keep my promises. And so now V0 is actually a tool you can call inside of ChatPRD. So you can be chatting with ChatPRD and you can be like, great, I love the spec. Build me a prototype. And it'll stream in the kind of like our canvas. It'll stream in a V0 prototype. It'll link to V0. You can update it. And so now all that stuff is in one platform.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a few questions that are coming from the chat. Really quickly, let's do a speed round related to AI. Okay, first question is, what is your favorite underrated AI product?
Underrated. Oh, I don't see enough people talking about like how good Veo 3 is, the Gemini model,
Mhm.
the video model. It is just like the video gen stuff, people are not deep enough into, and I think it's because it only does like these 8-second clips, but I am just, I'm ready for like video to really blow up because I think it's just so, 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 so cool. So that's one place where like I spend all my time coding, but I'm trying to keep an eye on sort of like the multimodal stuff. And I think video gen stuff is super cool, and I love it, and I just think it's real. So I like I just try to keep an eye on the creative arts sides of things, and that's one of my
Yeah.
favorite. Yeah.
No, it's amazing. It's all over my TikTok. I feel like I'm
Oh,
getting
I
all
mean,
of
like,
these like AI
you get in
generated
these like
videos.
glass fruit cutting TikToks, and you're
Yes,
like,
yes.
this
Or like
is
the sushi
exactly
that's
what
like eating itself. That's what came up on my feed the other day. I was
I
like,
love
oh
it.
my
I
God.
just do Veo through videos of hot, like very fancy English teacups full of hot tea
Oh my
by a
God.
raining window, and I'm like, "This is so relaxing."
It's like the new version of like the lo-fi girl,
It
just like on
totally
YouTube.
is.
Yeah.
It's exactly that.
I love that. Okay. What is a PM skill that is harder to teach than people think?
Good taste. I mean, honestly, like, I came into I came into product in a very weird angle, but probably wormed my way through like UX and design. And I think people really you can you can understand and study code because like documented and there's like one way, you can write code or not write code, it works or it doesn't. With design, I really do think like developing language and being able to articulate taste is very important. And the reason I got my product job, this is no lie, is I used to sit next to this product manager when I was a designer, and his boss, bless him, would say really useful feedback, like make it look like a thing. Like that's make it look like a thing. And like could not interpret what make it look like a thing was. And I was like, he wants a stroke on the box. Like he just wants an outline. And so I do think like being able to develop a language for design and good taste is something that I think PMs underinvest in and actually like show a lot of lack of care about. And I think it's really important.
Yep, that's super interesting. We've talked about this internally of like vibes and tastes and that being
Yeah.
like the thing that sets you apart moving forward.
Yeah, I think vibe, like I think some people can call it when it's like good or bad, but they cannot articulate what would make it better or what makes it good
Yes.
or bad. And I think that language is very important.
Yes. Okay, last speed round question. What is your AI hot take?
What is my AI? Oh, I'm just like, I don't know if this is I don't know if it's a hot take. I really don't. I am such an unabashed optimist about this stuff. Like, I think it's going to create economic change for sure. But I think like, would I rather be born 100 years ago or now? Like definitely now. And would I rather be born 100 years from now or now? Like probably in 100 years. I think it's just going to unlock a lot of discovery. I think it's going to unlock a lot of creativity. It certainly had like a very net positive effect in my life. And so I'm just like, try to be pretty optimistic about technology, even as somebody who has kids who has to think about what it means for their life. Oh, here's my hot take. Not enough ladies are making money in AI, and it makes me super freaking angry. It is like a moment of true economic opportunities. Ladies, the three of you on this live stream, like, listen up. I'm not kidding. My YouTube audience is 91% male. Like we gotta get in here. And so what I would say is, I think my hot take is more and more women need to participate in the economic upside of AI. Please do it. It's not scary. It's super fun. Get in there.
Totally, totally. Yeah, I was looking at my ex audience breakdown the other day and it was like 81% male. And I was like, oh,
Oh,
that's so fun for
and
me and
like
everybody
it's
involved.
not about anything but like there is money to be made here. And I think it's like generational. And I want to see like a lot of equal participation in that because I think it's going to be really good for a lot of people.
Totally, totally agree. Okay, amazing. We have some questions in the chat from folks that are watching.
Okay,
So
great.
we'll go through these now before we wrap up. Um, the first question is, as a mostly but not fully technical PM, it's now really easy to move fast with prototypes, especially front end. Thanks for Sell. They said that, not me. But everything else about launching a production ready product can be really challenging. What are some good steps for PMs to begin learning backend security, auth scale, etc.?
Yeah, so I have two parts of an answer for this. The first part is, are you very sure you need production ready scale? Which is what I mean is like I always tell people, they're like, I'm vibe coding something, but how do I make sure it's production ready? I was like, if you have the problem that your app doesn't scale, that is such a good problem to have. I call that rich people problems. Like
Yes.
if your product is so in demand that the out of the box scaling fails you and you have to learn DevOps, like good problem to have, and you can probably find money to solve that problem. So like I often give people the encouragement not to preemptively solve problems they would be happy to have. So that's kind of like one thing. That I think the only exception to that is like don't ship your production secrets. Like just there's like some security things that you just want to be really thoughtful about. But presuming you understand that baseline, like scale is never anybody's problem at early stage. But what are some good steps to begin learning backend security, auth, scale? So, what I would say, I'll give really practical things for PMs. PMs, you want to learn backend, like you truly want to learn the foundational things about building backend. Backend is about data manipulation, and the number one skill you should learn, and it's not, it's a different kind of code. You should learn SQL. So you should go and you should get access to your data warehouse at work, and you should understand how to query your data models and you should understand how they all relate to each other. That is like 60% of backend is setting up like what data talks to what data, how can you change it, how does it relate to each other. And so I think one of the best skills I learned early in my product career was SQL, because it gives you this real foundation for data modeling, which is the foundation for a lot of backend stuff. I think the second thing you can do is you need to figure out which things you need to learn and which things you can buy. Like auth, you need to learn what auth provider you can trust. You need to learn how to implement that auth providers and the like foundational concepts of auth. I don't think like a vibe coding PM needs to like roll their own auth system. I know all the engineers are going to say it's like so easy, blah, 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 blah. Like you just don't need to do it. So I think it's like learning what you should learn and what you should not learn is really important. And then the advice that I give to my 8-year-old is the advice that I would give to you, which is like, read the code. All these like agentic tools are going to spit out a bunch of code and you're going to ship it and you're never going to read it. I read every line of code written by me or by someone else or by AI. And so I think as you like start to read code, you'll start to kind of like understand what's built, and then you can like copy and paste pieces of code and go into again AI and be like, explain to me what this is doing, and like kind of interrogate it. I think that's really helpful. And then there are a bunch of kind of like YouTube tutorials and tutorials out there that I think are really worth looking at. I think Code with Antonio has a bunch of them where you can like rebuild Notion or rebuild Chat GPT, and like it just gives you a good foundation of stacking these different concepts together. So going through a couple of those end-to-end guided tutorial examples as opposed to vibe coding everything, I also think is really useful.
Super tactical. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, next question is, how would Chat PRD benefit a solo founder?
If you're a solo founder, you don't have a product manager, and Chat PRD is a very cheap product manager on demand. So like what I found is you can do things like take a support ticket that says, I want X, Y, and Z, put it in Chat PRD, beep boop that over to Vercel, and you got a feature. And so it's really just this like product manager for you. Also with things like our linear integration, if you're on our Teams plan, it can like break down tasks for you and do a whole bunch of stuff. And so we actually have a lot of solo founders, me included, that use a lot of Chat PRD because they don't have product managers.
Amazing. Okay, and last question from the audience. So you've been working very hard to get GPT-5 to work with Chat PRD. What's been the biggest learning of working with GPT-5 after 2 weeks?
Oh, I'm trying so hard. I mean, I love OpenAI. I love the GPT models. I'm a big fan. And like GPT-5 is very tricky. So my biggest learnings, and I've tweeted all of this, is it really is like built for agentic coding. They can like say that it's like an all-purpose model, and like you can just see it's been trained to really focus on execution. So the biggest challenge for us is it goes too far down the technical execution path and not far enough down the business oriented path. And so it's very hard to prompt out of that orientation as well. We've had a really hard time like actually steering it back to business oriented thinking. And then it is too smart for its own good, which is like, it is just overly precise, overly detailed, and overly verbose. And so, my example is, with a GPT 4.1, if I like build out success metrics for this product, it'd be like, ARPU or daily active users or like things that like normal humans use. And GPT-5 is like, what if we did like region adjusted incremental revenue divided by minutes watched of this video over like the cost of engineering? I'm like, no, like actually no one thinks like that. And so it's just been an interesting exercise. As I said, it's not like, a 2.0 to a 3.0 upgrade. My joke is it's like Cindy used to be your boss and now she's dead. Here's Peter. Like that's the kind of like shift. And so you really have to like think through how do you make that work for you and how do you prompt it? And we've been using a lot of data backed live evals to figure this out, but we haven't quite cracked it yet. I'm going to keep live blogging my experience with GPT-5 because I believe it can happen. And we don't just release these models to our users because they're like really unhappy with them when they don't work, and then it reflects on Chat PRD. And, I think AI designers think, let people pick their models and they're fine with whatever. And actually for our use case, I really care about the quality. And so we do a lot of testing before we roll out these models.
Nice. Well, excited to continue to follow the journey on X. Okay, I know we're up at time, so I just want to give you the chance. Do you have any parting thoughts for the folks that are watching? Do you want to plug anything or where people can follow along?
Yeah, so you can find me on X. I'm at Claire Vo. Also, I host How I AI. We release episodes every Monday. That's I think How I AI podcast or pod on YouTube. We're running a giveaway right now, so if you leave us a review, we will give you a year's worth of tools, including to V0. So,
Heck
um,
yeah.
yeah, check that out. And then I would just say, like, it is such a fun time to be building. V0 is one of those tools that enable it. Trust me, it was not this easy before. So I appreciate it. And DM's open. So if you ever have podcast guests or questions or want to use Chat PRD, let me know.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Clara. This was a blast. Thank you for joining us and for being a power user of V0
Yep.
and excited to continue to follow along on X and elsewhere.
Thanks,
So
Allie.
awesome. Okay. Bye, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye, y'all.